What is up, everyone? This is Midnight Strike 3625, and I am back for another review. So, today we're going to be talking some LEGO games, and in case I haven't mentioned it, I am a huge fan of the LEGO games, specifically LEGO Star Wars, the one we're going to be talking about today, the brand new LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. So, like I said, I'm a huge fan of LEGO Star Wars, love the first two, played them religiously on the PS2 when I was an early teenager, and have both games at 100%. I don't know if I'm going to ace this one just because of all the issues I've been having with it, which I will get into later on in this review, but for now I will say that even though the characters in the game have a different game engine, feel different, they have, they behave differently than they used to, it's still a decent game and it still holds up as being just a really great and solid LEGO game addition to the LEGO series, especially the LEGO Star Wars one, which we haven't seen an entry in since 2011, so it's been 5 whole years. Basically, LEGO games come out like every single year, and the only reason why the franchise hasn't seen any sort of fatigue is because they have a broad spectrum of licenses, and they don't expect you to buy every single one of them. They expect the customers to just buy the games that they feel they want to see a LEGO game for, basically. Buy the games for the movies that they want to see a LEGO game for, I should say. Or video games with, Indiana Jones and the Avengers, Marvel superheroes, DC Universe, Batman, stuff like that. So, if you're not into it, you're not going to buy it. I'm really into Star Wars, or I was at the time when I bought the first two, the original trilogy, and of course the prequel trilogy with the LEGO games. And my interest in Star Wars has since been renewed, as most people's, since The Force Awakens came out. So there's that. I'm really surprised, however, that they didn't choose to wait until Episode 9 came out and then just slap them all together like they did with the first two games. I'm not really sure why they didn't do that, but then again, I suppose since it's here and now, it's out here and now, The Force Awakens, and Star Wars fever is back, I suppose it's a good a time as any to cash in on that. I suppose that's what they were thinking of. And then, of course, it's not just 3 movies anymore. They're going to be making things like Rogue One and the new Han Solo movie and maybe an Obi-Wan movie, and it's just going to be all over the place. So they're thinking maybe that they might have to cram those in as well, which I really wouldn't care if they didn't, but they can if they want to. As far as LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens goes, it has a pretty decent balance between the open world of, say, Marvel superheroes and the closed space hub worlds of the original games that they're based off of. Basically, it is an open world. However, you can travel to different planets through different menus, and the open world isn't exactly completely open because it's more of just kind of like a pathway from one level to another. And it incorporates the story in there phenomenally because each open segment has different, hidden objects, and it incorporates the story in there because certain things are happening during that segment between levels that correspond to what's going to happen in the next level. And it's really cool. You'll be on one of the open worlds will be on Starkiller Base, and you'll have First Order troops coming after you, shooting at you, and this is a hub world, by the way, and they'll be shooting at you, and you have to bypass them and basically get into the next level, essentially. There's really nothing else to it aside from this. There's a couple collectibles, like I said, but it's not like you're going out of your way to try and fill up a true Jedi meter, which I always try to do on every single level. So with this game, I might try to 100% it. I haven't aced it yet, but I've been having so many issues with glitches that it's not even funny. Half the time, the level design, I will say, half the time it works, half the time it doesn't. I've been at odds, basically fighting with the level design of the game since I started. They added these new things in called blaster battles, which are kind of cool, kind of cheesy, I suppose, but they're really kind of annoying, and the controls just feel really sticky. I suppose. You're pressing the buttons frantically, and basically the idea is you hide behind cover, and then there's the first order troops shooting at you. The enemies are shooting at you, trying to kill you. You're supposed to shoot back at them, but in order to do that, you have to you're stuck behind cover. Basically, it won't let you move around like a normal, like the normal Lego levels, but you're stuck behind cover. You press L2 to get out, and then square for blaster shots, or in this case maybe like force shots if you're a Jedi. Basically, it doesn't make any sense for the Jedi one. It looks funny and comical, which I suppose maybe that's what they were going for with the Lego games. They do definitely hit the nail on the head with that one. The blaster battles segments, I would say, need work. I'm glad that they put them in here because it's a breath of fresh air from everything else that we've seen over the course of the past couple Lego games, especially me just now getting into the Lego Marvel superheroes and everything that's just been released, Lego The Hobbit, it's all just really convoluted, and that's the real problem I've had with the vast majority of the Lego games released after the point that I stopped playing them back in like 2008, 2009. So they've all just got really mucked up, or muddled up in just new things that they can add. And this actually has a nice balance, and it's simplistic enough to where you can actually get it. So the voice acting in this is another thing that I thought I would end up hating, but really I just ended up loving. It actually enhances the experience more than it detracts from it. The reason I didn't like the dialogue in prior Lego games is because I've always thought that the Legos don't talk. They're Legos. So that's why they had it in the first couple Lego games where it was just, they were making odd sounds, like making, weird facial expressions and whatnot. But, that's not the case here. That's not the case anymore. They've actually recorded new dialogue for this game, and it's comedic and funny as hell. And it definitely lends credence to the cartoonish atmosphere that they were going for, so I think that was very well done. And it adds a lot more insight into The Force Awakens, and it made me actually appreciate the movie a lot more for what it is, especially with the additional levels. So I thought that was really cool as well. It added just a whole new, different layer to the movie that I never really thought existed. So the interactions are great, and absolutely love the story, of course. And it kind of takes this approach where you don't actually have to read everything to catch up to it, like with the First Order, how they got there and everything. You just kind of get it. You understand. It's easy enough for anyone to get into, and I like that. With the glitches, though, I cannot tell you the amount of times that my game has froze on me, that I did the wrong thing in the wrong sequence, so no matter what I did in the level, I wasn't able to pass it. And stuff like that just really got on my nerves. This has got to end. I mean, say there's something where you have to fire a grappling hook at a tree in one of the final levels, in one of the, halfway through the game, I suppose, for the main plot. If you fire your grappling hook at a tree, but you were supposed to stay there and shoot at Kylo Ren, your level is done. You have to start over, basically. Otherwise, you cannot pass. If you go over here and do something over here, but you were supposed to be doing something over here, if you do something over here first, then your game is basically done. The level's done. You have to start over. It's that kind of thing that really annoys me and alienates me from wanting to play the game even more, and it's a glitch that really needs to be patched out, especially in this day and age. Now, I'm not advocating for send it out, patch it later, but at least patch it if it's got something wrong with it, Especially if it's game-breaking such as this. I mean, I can't even count the amount of times on one hand that I've had to start levels over because of these annoying game-breaking glitches. I don't know if anyone else has had problems with it, but I have never had any problems. Another thing that I want to point out is the AI is absolutely horrible in this game. Honestly, it's kind of a sad thing when the two games released on PS2, the characters have better AI than a game released on a PlayStation 4 almost 10 years later. I mean, that's just kind of telling when the characters, for one, they don't behave like they used to. You can't block with your lightsaber like you used to. I mean, you can, but it's a lot more touchy. And you can't do the things you used to with, say, C-3PO. R2-D2 can't use his rockets or his flying ability. And it's kind of a jarring experience when it comes to the actual, how the characters actually interact and feel on a controlling basis. There are some levels where the controlling is, the characters are basically stuck to a slow walk, and that is really jarring and annoying. Also, the characters' AI themselves, in the first couple games, there was a point where you had your character get on a platform, and then the other character would get on a platform. You both use the Force, basically. In this game, I feel like if they had that, you'd have to switch back and forth between the characters. Honestly, and then there's other parts in this game, actually, where you have to all grapple the same thing. But instead of when you go over and grapple, the rest of your party will go over and grapple with you, you have to switch to each individual character to go over and grapple. Otherwise, it won't work. Stupid AI. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's just a very jarring experience at best when it comes to that. So I will say that. Those are my gripes with LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens, but overall, I did have a good time with it. I did enjoy the collection system, which is where you collect different characters that are frozen in carbonite, and then you can go and thaw them out at the Resistance base. That's a really cool addition, and most of the characters that are frozen in carbonite that you can find are like Queen Amidala and Anakin Skywalker from his pod racing sequence, and it's just really cool. I like that part. That's probably one of my favorite parts in the entire game, and the fact that it has the most characters I've ever seen in a LEGO game, so there is that. Overall, I'd rate this game a solid 8 out of 10. It's a solid addition to LEGO Star Wars games, and a solid addition to LEGO games in general. However, it does have its fair share of issues, such as the glitches, such as all the things that I mentioned that just took me out of the moment, such as the character AI, the glitches. The level design is somewhat shoddy when it comes to forcing your characters to walk slow or do certain things in certain cinematic moments, and it's just very jarring when it comes to that. But overall, it is a fun experience. There's a lot to be had in this game, and it's one of the best LEGO games that has been released probably since LEGO Star Wars. So, without further ado, 8 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this review. I am Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.